In this video, we're going to show you how to install the ball joint on your Volvo S60 located in the front steering knuckle. Using a 19mm socket, we're going to loosen and remove the lug studs. And when you remove the last one, be prepared to catch that wheel or hold it in. Then grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. And on the bottom portion right here, we have an 18mm nut holding our ball joint. Let's go ahead and loosen and remove this nut. Now normally your brake rotors are going to have a bolt holding the rotor to the hub face itself. I like to throw in a couple of the lug studs here. And this basically just kind of stabilizes the rotor in place because we're probably going to be using a jack underneath this to support it and raise it up a little bit if the need arises. Now right here in the center, 13mm axle bolt. You loosen that, and you want to make sure that your axle is free floating. So with that loose, looks like there's some fresh grease in here, but you want to make sure that the axle is free so you can reach around the back and you can see that our axle is free floating inside the splines. Now for any reason, if your axle is stuck inside the splines, you can use some rust penetrant. Spray it inside here. You can use a brass punch like this, put it in the center and give it a few whacks with the hammer to break that free. Go ahead and make sure that axle is free floating. Now we're going to use a securing strap, and what we're going to do, our goal here is to go ahead and secure our lower control arm and pull it downward. So we're going to put a securing strap through here. And you can see here as I move the strap, the control arm shifts a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and crank down on that strap, and that should pull down and hold our control arm in this downward position here. You can see this is starting to lift out. Now the ball joint is held into the knuckle itself using two 13mm bolts that go up vertically here. I want to go ahead and loosen and remove these. Now I'm going to use a sharp chisel here, and I'm going to go between the knuckle and the ball joint itself. Now I'm going to do this on both sides. And I'm going to try and knock this ball joint down and out. There it is. Before you install the new ball joint, let's go ahead and inspect the inside of the knuckle port here, and it's pretty clean. Same thing on the surface, make sure that surface is clean. Flat side of the ball joint faces outward. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the bolts started. And the purpose of this here is basically just to line up the ball joint with the cup and the knuckle. I don't always recommend tightening up the bolts to pull this up and in. It's basically just to line up the holes. You can use a large socket. I'm going to use a piece of 2 1/8 inch outside diameter exhaust pipe, and that goes up and over the ball joint boot, like so. Then I'm gonna use my hammer, and I'm gonna use this to tap this up. Now that we got our ball joint seated here, let's go ahead and snug down our bolts. All right, let's go ahead and torque those into position. Let's torque this down to 29 foot-pounds. I do want to make sure that our axle is pulled off to the side here. Let's now go ahead and release our strap. Now we're transitioning up to the upper portion of our assembly here, and we're going to go ahead and start by pulling on our ABS wire. Now I'm going to grab a finger on each side of it, and I'm going to wiggle this out. You don't want to pull on the wire itself, and I'm going to do the same on the back here. Just trying to work that out. We want to free up this wire. There it is. We're now going to go ahead and loosen and remove our knuckle to strut bolts. 18 millimeter wrench on the bolt side, and we're going to use a 21 millimeter socket on the nut side. I'm going to leave the bolts in for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the upper and lower bolts out of the knuckle, attaching it to the strut. Let's go ahead and start by tapping out this upper bolt. Okay. So let's go ahead, we're going to pull this away. We need to separate our strut. Just like so. Go ahead and take that strut and just kind of push it off to the side. Now we're going to take our knuckle and slide that ball joint down into the control arm. Just kind of wiggle that around a little bit until it drops in. There it is. Now while holding that there, we're going to go ahead and put our ball joint nut on. And then we're going to go ahead and work our CV axle back down and into the wheel hub. Now let's go ahead and get our strut lined up on the knuckle. And get our bolts in. Go ahead and tighten down our ball joint nut. Push this down and work this over. Line this up. Make sure that our axle is installed in the wheel hub itself, which it is. Go ahead and get my lower strut bolt in. Let's go ahead and get the upper installed. And then push in on this, get that bolt in. I'm just going to go ahead and get these started. I'm going to run these nuts down a little bit further here. While we're here, let's go ahead and install the ABS wire back into position. Here's a little tip. Spray the rubber with some spray solvent. It's going to allow these rubbers to slide in here a little bit easier. Let's go ahead and snug down our strut to knuckle bolts. Go ahead and torque this at 36 foot-pounds. Now we need to tighten this ball joint nut an additional 40 degrees. Using the marker, go ahead and mark a point on there, point of reference. Perfect. Let's go ahead and install our axle bolt. And let's gently snug this down. Good, torque it down to 25 foot-pounds. Now we need to tighten that an additional 90 degrees. Use my marker here. We need to tighten this an additional 90 degrees. I'm going to put a screwdriver. I'm going to go ahead and crank this about a quarter turn. Perfect. Remove the lug studs. Let's torque down our strut bolts to 77 foot-pounds. You have to tighten down the strut nuts here an additional 60 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that with a marker. I'm going to use my breaker bar here. And then do the same for the lower. Now that we have everything torqued in place here and you install your wheel, don't forget to bring the vehicle down and get the alignment performed. That's going to go ahead and prevent premature component wear and get you straight down the road. Let's go ahead and get your wheel set up. Once we get these all started, I'm going to come on back and zip them down. Now, in snugging this down, it's best to go ahead and do it in a crisscross or star pattern. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug studs here to 103 foot-pounds. It's best to do this in a crisscross or star pattern. And we're just going to double check these here. And you're all set. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.